up, mate.
Alright, we got the
Got
first
cake,
week
mate.
of the WNBA season
Got
in the
cheese,
books,
mate.
and I can
Got
go ahead
bread,
and say
mate.
right now that this has been the most WNBA basketball I've watched probably in my lifetime. I've seen some games back and forth here and there, throughout the season, but some of it kind of gets it's not a great product. But let's go ahead and get into that. So we're a week into the season, and my first kind of little highlights so far have been for the most part the games have been competitive. There is a huge skill difference with some teams, mainly being like the New York Liberty against Indiana Fever. The Fever do have Caitlin Clark, and they're fun to watch, but they do not have very much talent. Even with Caitlin Clark there, I think she scored 20 points 2 out of her 3 games. And her second game, first game against the Liberty, I think she only scored about 4 or 6 points. So it's kind of I wouldn't I wouldn't say a rude awakening, but I would say in the sense that their defense is a little bit better. They Caitlin Clark went against the Connecticut Sun in her first game, and Dejanay Carrington, who's probably one of the best players I've seen so far, that's on offense and defense. She had a great game against Caitlin Clark, especially defensively, and they'll be playing again tonight. So I'm looking forward to watching that. But I would say that's the main thing. A lot of it is just a different skill. Like the Las Vegas Aces, of course, 2-time champs, back to back, and you also have the New York Liberty, who probably have two of the best players in the WNBA: Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. Um, but the games have been competitive as well as the storyline. So, what basically why the WNBA is so popular right now is because they're starting to get star power, something they really haven't had in the past. And with everything that's been going on social media wise behind college basketball, women's college basketball, those stars from women's college basketball are now going into the pros. Now we've got some traction, social media following behind them. So that goes with Angel Reese, the South Carolina women, Caitlin Clark, obviously Cameron Brink with the Los Angeles Spark. So it's more diverse rather than just a bunch of UConn players going to the WNBA, which there's tons of. But now we're getting a little bit of diversity and some different players and from different programs. Um, trying to boost up these games. And one of the things that I like the most so far is I wouldn't say the product hasn't been bad basketball wise. Like I said, the main difference is talent. Some teams have a great talent, others don't have as much, and that's kind of been the main thing. Other than that, it has been pretty close games, competitive games that I've liked so far. Another good thing is the officiating. The officiating's actually been pretty good officiating in my opinion. They let a lot of there's not like touch fouls. There's not a lot of touch fouls like in the NBA. The NBA, you'll have nothing but free throw shooting contests, 40 free throws a night from both teams, one team. So you don't get that as much in the WNBA. They're a little bit they let them play a little bit physical, which I'm all for that. Um, so that's been nice to see that the officiating doesn't control the game. I think I saw one game. I believe it was the Liberty and the Fever, the second game they played. That was a little bit. The officials kind of got in there, and as well as the Fever's first game, Caitlin Clark picked up 2 quick fouls, which they're a little iffy. I think it should have been one. The other one probably could have been let go. But other than that, I think the officiating's been pretty square and straight. It has been entertaining. It's the one thing about the WNBA is it's been very popular, especially for us on our website DDSN.us and social media, what have you, with our articles and gambling plays. So the gambling is a huge part of the WNBA, of course, with all sports, but mainly it's a good reason to watch the WNBA, especially if there's a blowout. Sometimes you have huge spreads that they could get in doubt, or the totals are close, even though the game's a blowout. I don't know how many games that we had this past week where literally the spread and the total was decided on the final shot of the game. I haven't had that. Really haven't had that in college basketball or NBA in like in a 1 week time frame. Sometimes it happens, but this week there's multiple games. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, but there's multiple games where the last bucket of the game decided the total, and that's kind of crazy. So it's very entertaining gambling wise. The volatility is there for sure. And like I said, storyline wise, it's been good. The commentary, you've got some good commentators, Ryan Rucco, Rebecca Lobo, they do a great job. Debbie Antonelli, always great on the mic. Cheryl Swoops does the Dallas Wings games, local games. So I haven't had any problems with the commentary. It's been pretty good. A lot of the commentators, if business is booming for all of them, then they're going to be happy, right? So if they're getting more viewers, then that means everyone's got to bring their A game. So in the telecast last no on Saturday for the Fever and Liberty second game, they kept talking about how it was a huge revenue day for the New York Liberty. There was like $2 million worth of either ticket sales or total revenue, I believe, from that game alone. So at least now, I think it's kind of important that the WNBA actually cares about revenue because they haven't turned a profit, I think, ever. And it's something obviously you want to strive for. So I think they're trying to get to that position to where they can turn a profit, which would be a huge for them because that's the only way you could really afford to, have these chartered flights, hotels, accommodations, all that sort of thing that go like NBA players get. That's because they bring in huge TV contracts. I think that's another thing that the WNBA needs to figure out because right now I think they have like a league pass for WNBA, but it's not. I mean, I don't see very many people buying it. I don't know why they would, um, which is sad to say, but I think that they need to have all the games available. So whether that be like ESPN Plus carrying all the games or Amazon Prime carrying all the games. There's a game last week. I think it was the Caitlin Clark debut. So it was the Fever at home against the New York Liberty. And that was like really good camera work, good graphics, everything from what Amazon Prime put out. It was a really great product visually. So I think Amazon Prime or ESPN Plus needs to pick up all the games. To be honest with you, you're probably better off having more people watch your product than limiting it to whoever buys League Pass because I can guarantee League Pass sales aren't gonna keep the lights on. So you're gonna want to get TV contracts set up. In my opinion, I think that'd be the best way to do it because right now I think they show on local TV, Ion TV, which I don't know. I know it's on Direct TV. I don't really know what else they show on there. Um, Amazon had one game, and then mostly all the games have been on ESPN, ESPN Plus, which is great. The two games tonight be on ESPN Plus, so that's good for them. But yeah, it's early in the season, but right now I haven't seen any injuries or anything like that. I think Camila Cardosa from South Carolina on the Chicago Sky, she's been dealing with some injuries, but she hasn't played yet. And right now, I think that the teams, there's enough parity right now. Like I said, the Indiana Fever, they're 0-3 right now. I'm not really high on them just because I mean, Caitlin Clark is great, but there's not very much talent on that team. Even Aaliyah Boston, she's actually like a forward center. She plays center, but all the other centers that they've gone against, she's a lot smaller than them and younger. And youth has a lot to do with it. Some of these teams have a lot of older, more experienced women, and they've kind of been dominating the younger players, which you see that in the NBA as well all the time. The Washington Mystics are also 0-3 in the Eastern Conference. I think they're pretty competitive, but again, it's a talent discrepancy. And then they don't really have a star. They just have like a bunch of decent players. I don't even mean that in a bad way. They just don't have a superstar is what I'm trying to say. The Chicago Sky. Chicago Sky is actually pretty good. I watched them play their first game against the Dallas Wings. I didn't see the second game. Chicago Sky's got a lot of good players all together. They got Angel Reese, who's been pretty good. I think she's averaging like 8.5 rebounds right now. So she's doing a great job. I think they need to get a little bit more on page as a team. There was a lot of fighting and complaining in that first game against the Wings. They blew like a 10-point lead. Wings went on like a 20 to 5 run, something like that, to close out the game. And they got revenge on Sunday, but still, the Sky should be 2-0. So I think they need to play a little bit better as a team. And once they get Camila Cardosa in there, she'll definitely help. They're a lot. They're definitely a bigger team. They have some great size, especially with Angel Reese, and I think Chicago Sky will be good again. They're very young, and like we talked about in the Eastern Conference, the Connecticut Sun, their best player I think is Dejanay Carrington. She's a star on the defensive side of the ball. She'll be playing again tonight, prime time against the Fever, and I would say look for her against Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark struggled against her the first time around. They play very physical. She's very fast. She can pass the ball. Probably the best. Well, not the best, but my favorite player so far that I've seen is easily Dejanay Carrington. She went to Baylor. And Dewana Bonner for Connecticut Sun. They're such a great defensive team, but Bonner's the leading scorer on the team, leading the team. And they're 2-0, looking to go 3-0 tonight against the Fever. We'll see if they do that. And of course, the class of the East is the New York Liberty. They have some of the best players in the league, Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. They also have Jokel Jones. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably missing something. But Brianna Stewart, she's a star. She can shoot the ball from all over the court. She's got great post moves and she can play defense. So pretty much the games that I've watched so far, she's a matchup nightmare. Nobody can really guard her. But we'll see how they do. They're looking for revenge. They want to get back to the championship, take on the Aces, and we'll see how that goes. And speaking of the Aces in the Western Conference, they're number one. They're 2-0. They're a great team, but they're still they've been playing some close games, kind of lollygagging around with the Mercury and the Sparks. So they're 2-0, but I think they're still trying to knock that championship rust off and try to get back focused on the regular season. And then you have the Minnesota Lynx, 2-0. They're carried by two of their best players, best scorers, both Yukon women guards. Nafisha Collier and Kayla McBride, both of them had a great game in double overtime against the Seattle Storm. That game went in double overtime. They ended up closing it out in the second overtime, and they've got some great scoring guards, and of course they're from UConn, carrying the way. And then you have the 1-1 Dallas Wings. I think they're kind of middle of the road. Like I said, I think they should be 0-2. Personally, the Chicago Sky should have beat them twice, but the Wings are 1-1. They're not terrible. They can shoot the three, but I like to see a little bit more from them. I only saw them that first game against the Sky. The Mercury are 1-1. I think I don't know if they should have beat the Aces in the first game of the season, but they have that talent, especially Diana Taurasi. Brittany Griner, I think she's injured. She hasn't played, but Taurasi's been carrying them, and they'll probably end up needing some more firepower to keep up with these other teams. But so far, the Mercury look good with Taurasi as long as she stays healthy. Seattle Storm 1-2, led by Skylar Diggins. Um, they're all right. They're all right. I think that they should be. I think they should be 2-1, but they're 1-2. They got a Guma K in the post. I still think they're a pretty good team. I don't know if they're better than the Mercury, but they might be. I like to see a little bit more from them. And then, of course, you have the LA Sparks, who have had a very tough schedule to start the season. They've gone against the Las Vegas Aces, and they also played against the no, they played the Aces twice, actually. No, I take that back. They played the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream. They're 1-1 in the East. My bad. So the LA Sparks played the Atlanta Dream. They lost that first game at home, and then their second game was on the road against Las Vegas, and they got beat. But they kept the game close. There was like 18-point spread. We had the Sparks. I thought they would do a good job. They have really good guard play. The Sparks do, and then Cameron Brink inside the post. She's actually been really good defensively. I don't know how many blocks she has already, but if you watch the game, all you see is Cameron Brink blocking all the shots in the post. So she's using that 6'4" frame to her advantage and taking care of the post. So I think that's a pretty good team to watch as the season goes on. Like I said, they started this season. with two tough games, and they lost both, which I wasn't expecting them to win either of those. I had the dream winning, which they did by I think 9 points in that first game, and then again they lost to the Aces, but they kept it close. Uh, but tonight we've got the Connecticut Sun again facing off against the Indiana Fever in Indiana. So will the Fever be able to get some revenge here after that first opening night loss? I don't know. I really like this. Like I said, I really like this Connecticut Suns defense, and the offense for the Fever is very, very poor. Even though they have Caitlin Clark was way more aggressive and assertive the second game, her third overall game. She was very assertive in that second game against the Liberty, and they're able to keep up. They're able to keep up with the Liberty offensively, but their defense is just non-existent, and that was apparent in their first game against the Sun. The Sun just they're a very good defensive team, and you'll be able to see that tonight. I like the Sun. I would lay the points. I wouldn't stay away from. I'd stay away from the total on here, but I lay the points with the Connecticut Sun. Love their defense. Dejanay Carrington, she's a star, and the defense is just too much for the Indiana Fever offense, and the Fever defense is non-existent. So the second game, these actually they're both at 6 o'clock Central, so they actually start at the same time. But the second game will be the Storm visiting the New York Liberty. This game, I could see it going over the total. Seattle has enough offense to keep this game close, so the 12-point spread here may be a little bit too many points. So I don't know about that, but I like this game to go over the total, 166 and a half points. I think they will make it over the total, but I'll wait and see because it's six. We'll see how it goes, but I like this game to go over the total. The Seattle Storm will be on a back to back. They played yesterday against the Mystic. They beat them. So I don't know how Seattle's going to do on a back to back. WNBA, very new to me. I'm not too sure. They could be fresh. They could be tired. The New York Liberty will definitely be rested. Haven't played since Saturday. So right now I'm leaning New York Liberty laying 12 points and then taking the over. So but I just don't know how back to backs are right now for the WNBA ladies. But that's where I'm at right now. Like I said, the website www.ddsn.us. I'll have the final official card there about an hour before tip off, so around 5 o'clock. That way, give some time for these numbers to move. But again, I really like the Sun today, laying whether it's 5.5, 6 points. I think they have way more talent than the Fever right now. And then I'm waiting to see how this line moves around for the Liberty. But I'm definitely going to take the game over the total right now, 166 and a half. I'll take it over. So that was the first little recap that we had. I'll probably do more of this because, like I said, WNBA has been popular for us, been popular around the country. So we're going to go ahead and talk more about it on social media. I'll do these videos as well. So subscribe, follow us on everything. Keep up with more WNBA content, and we'll see you next time. All right.